Congratulations, you guys did a really good job on your first practice of Model 2 test. Now, one of the things about the TKT Model 2 test is that the instructions are tricky, so you need to really read the instructions to make sure that you're answering what the test is asking you to answer. Well, in the first one, it's asking you to choose the stage aim which matches the instructions. Remember, the stage aim is part of the procedure. For each procedure, there's a stage aim. So it says, in your groups, decide on the very best way to spend your next holiday. Remember, they're talking in groups, so A can't be right because they're not presenting in front of the skills. And C can't be right because they're not having a discussion with the teacher and they're not taking turns. And you can't monitor turn taking, that's why the answer is B, to give learners practice in negotiating. Here the instruction says to choose the stage that is not appropriate for the procedure. So this is the one that does not go with the stage aim. Okay, so in number 8 it says show pictures and find out what learners know about the topic. Okay, so when we're showing pictures, we want to have them to build the knowledge of the world. So you want them to trigger prior knowledge. You also want to contextualize the topic so the students have an idea of what they're going to be talking about. And remember, when we're talking about reflective learners are the ones who are thinking about their own learning. So in this activity about showing pictures, they're not thinking about their own learning. So that's the reason why the answer is C. On question 13, role play, a written dialogue in open pairs and in closed pairs. Remember, open pairs is when two people are in front of the classroom and doing it in front of everybody. And then in closed pairs means that they're doing it in groups inside the classroom, which is one of the reasons why you really have to know the vocabulary words in order to make sure that you answer it correctly. So, to give learners guided practice, well, yes, because in open pairs, you're helping them practice and you're guiding them through it. To let learners confidence about speaking in English, you're giving the opportunity for them to make mistakes and to practice on their own. And the answer A is not the appropriate for the procedure, because fluency practice means that they're talking from the top of their head and they're not following a script. That's the reason why A is incorrect. Match the generous syllabus aims with the lesson outcome from a teacher's lesson plan. Remember, the syllabus is like the plan for the whole year or for a semester. Remember that a syllabus is the document that I gave you at the beginning of the class to show you what you will be doing every day during the following 6 months. So in number 19, it says learners will have used language for asking for and understanding directions. And we have to choose the syllabus aim. To prepare learners for an examination, well, that's not it, because this is a syllabus and we haven't really started teaching the class yet, so A can't be it. And C, to provide exposure to authentic language use. Again, it does not talk about authentic language is like language fluency that you use it on top of your cusp. So the answer is to equip learners with a range of useful functions, because we're talking about a specific function, which is asking for and understanding directions. Matching the lesson plan commode with the teacher's lesson plan. This is the lesson plan that we've been working on. Remember the timetable, main aim, procedure, stage aim, and you have to be able to identify them. And these are their definitions. So one of the things that we need to think about the Model 2 test is we have to look for clues inside the words in order to figure out which of the components they're looking for. So in 21, it says revise the formation and use of comparative and supplemental adjectives. Well, that's a main aim. That talks about what they're going to be studying during that class. Although the topic is unfamiliar, learners should find it motivating. Now, the key word here is, although the topic is unfamiliar, it's assumptions. We don't know if it's unfamiliar with them or not because we haven't actually taught it yet. So that's the reason why it's an assumption. In 23, following a lesson on conditional sentence and preparing for a class test. Well, that talks about what they did before. And remember, timetable fit is what they did before. Some learners may not remember the vocabulary for the last session. This is when the teacher is trying to anticipate problems and how they're going to resolve it. And if we go to number 27, it gives you the solution. Give instructions in written form if learners have difficulty understanding them. 25, to make clear connections between one stage and the next. That's a personal aim. That does not talk about students learning at all. It talks about teachers and what the teacher is going to be doing. And 26, to check learners' understanding for new lexical terms. That is a stage aim. That's a very specific aim compared to the main aim, which is revise the functions and components of comparative and supplemental adjectives. This exercise I find to be the most difficult for students to do in the TKKT Model 2 test. Now, the thing about find the stages of an integrated skill lesson and fill in the missing stages. Now, when you're thinking about this, you have to think of the logic of teaching. What do you think you're going to do first? What are you going to do second? What are you going to do third? I know it's a little bit difficult by the way the setup of the test is, but you have to start moving the pieces around until the sequence of ideas makes sense. The sequence of the ideas is logical. So the first thing you're going to do is the warmer learner mingle to form groups. Then the teacher uses visual to introduce the topic to activate prior knowledge. Once their prior knowledge is activated, in groups, teacher brainstorm vocabulary related to sports. So they're going to be talking about sports. And then here, the next one talks about listening to the dialogue to check their predictions. Remember, a transcript is a written dialogue. So that gives you the clue that the previous activity would be group reads a transcript and discuss the possible contents of the missing sections. Then they get to listen to it because they already read it and they already talked about it and they're doing fill in the blanks. After they do that, it says the next clue is learners answer detailed questions about the text. So what do they have to do in order to answer questions about a text? They have to read an article. So that's the reason why C comes next. Learners read an article about sports training. Then we have groups prepare, then give their presentations. So each group produces a plan for a new sports centers because they have to present something, right? And then they give their presentation. And after the students give a presentation, teachers give them feedback on language errors. And at the end of the class, the whole class discussed the advantages and disadvantages of all the plans. And each group decides which plan they think is best that they want to act out in the future.